Hey everyone, today we're going to be playing some Legacy, and I think it is fitting to play the deck that I think basically everyone thinks is the best deck at this point, Blue-Red Delver. I've been playing this deck a little bit over the last week or so and have really enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun, and I've been winning, so that's always nice. You might have even seen me play against Todd Anderson in his video last weekend. I beat the crap out of him, so that was awesome. But the first thing you might notice is I have no Scalding Tarns, and those are pretty expensive, and I didn't really want to buy them. And I don't feel like, it's like certainly helpful to have the choice to like fetch Mountain or Island or whatever, but I don't feel like it is worth the 100 tickets or whatever that it would cost me to do it when I have all these beautiful Cons fetch lands that are very, very cheap. So forgive that. Other than that, I have everything in the deck that I want, so this is not like a budget version by any means, but this deck has been doing pretty well. Treasure Cruise has been crushing on the Open Series, and it won the very first Open where Cruise was legal, just like this blue-red deck. And it seemed like, okay, that's cool. This is like the level 1 strategy, right? Where it's like you take this deck that was like not super great, it was solidly tier 2, and then you put in some cruises and now it's good, and then hopefully like people will adapt from that. Like there should be a better version of this, right? But people haven't found it yet. Some people are playing like the Jeskai Delver decks, and that's okay, but I would much rather have Young Pyromancer than Stoneforge Mystic in my Treasure Cruise decks. So I don't know, it's kind of weird. It's like Bob Huang, the guy that won the Open, just like built this deck, and it just ends up maybe actually being the best version of this deck. So that's kind of weird. So I haven't actually changed much from Bob's list, although there are a couple little changes that may or may not make a big difference. So for starters, I cut a Swift Spear, and that could very easily be wrong, but I wanted some more interaction because it felt like the combo decks were the bad matchups. Like you have Force of Will and Daze, but that's it. And I really think you need more if you want to do well against those decks over the course of a tournament, because your game 1 win percentage is not very high, especially since you might not necessarily know that they're on combo, and you won't have the information that you need to be like, oh, okay, this hand is fine, but it doesn't have a Force of Will, and you're not going to be aggressively mulliganing for Force of Will in the dark, so you might just lose a lot of game 1s to combo, just kind of on accident. But against any of the fair decks, this deck is pretty good. It goes long really well and has a bunch of removal, and the removal is also a bunch of burn spells, so you have the capacity to just burn people out. So to that end, I added a Singleton Fire Blast that I believe Roland Chang was playing at the Legacy Championship at Eternal Weekend, and I like that idea. It sounded really good to me. It seemed like a card that you could draw super late off Treasure Cruise, and it would be a thing that people would not play around. So they might stay at 4 life, or they might stay at 8 life, or 7 life, I mean, because of like a bolt or 2 bolts. But I don't think that they're necessarily going to play around Fire Blast, although that might change now. But so far, the Fire Blast has been good. It has closed out games that I had otherwise no business winning. So for now, it stays, but I could definitely see it getting cut. Other than that, I have only 3 days, and Daze is certainly a great card, but like Rug Delver has things like Stifle and Wasteland to also pressure your opponent's mana to make Daze a lot better, and this deck doesn't have some of that stuff, any of it really. And to that end, I think Daze is slightly worse in this deck since you're not punishing their mana, and going long Daze is often a dead draw, and you want to mitigate the dead draws that you draw off Treasure Cruise. Like if you're playing Cruise and drawing a bunch of air, it doesn't help you. It doesn't do anything. You actually need the cards in your deck to be relevant when you cast Treasure Cruise. So like I said, wanted this Fire Blast in there, wanted some more interaction against combo, shaved a Swift Spear, shaved a Daze. Those could be wrong, but that's what I'm doing right now. In their places, I have a main deck Pyroblast, which is probably not going to be out of the ordinary going forward. I feel like with enough people playing it in Miracles, and now Kevin Jones winning the Legacy Championship with a main deck Pyroblast, that might actually be a thing that people do, and Treasure Cruise is a big deal, and things like Show and Tell are kind of a big deal. So having a main deck Pyroblast is not that crazy. I also have a couple Spell Pierces, and those are my additional things to fight combo. And they've been fine. They've been not great. This deck really wants to tap out in the early turns, use all its mana every turn, and Spell Pierce kind of goes against that. But it gives you more of like a wall of hate that these combo decks have to fight through. And plus, there's a lot of weird stuff out there. Like I played against a bunch of like Abyss, Chalice of the Void, Thopter Foundry stuff on Magic Online, like decks that are specifically targeting this deck, trying to beat you. And Spell Pierce helps a lot against those. So Bob also had some Fork Bolts and one Chain Lightning. I have all Chain Lightnings mostly because of the Fire Blast. Like I have the capacity to be a burn deck, whereas he was mostly looking to like clear things off the board and like keep the board relatively stable and whatnot. But I'm not too concerned with that. You know, Chain Lightning kills one thing, that's good enough for me. I like having the additional damage to go upstairs. So other than that, I'm only playing 16 land. I cut a land. Like you think about things like Rug Delver, normally playing 18 land. Before those lands were wastelands. So they only had 14 turn 1 blue sources. I have 15 because I have a mountain. So I'm already one up on them. I also have probably more Gitaxian Probes than they do. So I can keep more one-landers probably. And like Wasteland wouldn't really help this deck. And you know, not like it helps Rug. So like we have basically an additional blue source. And Moto just closed. All right, so we have Magic Online back open. It decided to crash on me for a little bit, but yeah, we have an additional blue source and you know, less lands overall, but we have like things like Pyromancer instead of Tarmogoyf, which is like kind of negligible. But I think seeing as how you have the extra blue source, like that's the main thing. That's what allows you to not mulligan as often, because you can keep a lot of one-landers with this deck because of things like Ponder, Brainstorm, Gitaxian Probes. So that's about it. I like the changes of the deck so far. I've been doing pretty well. Just the main thing has been trying to figure out how to beat the random stuff, and I've addressed a lot of that with my sideboard. So we have the other 3 Pyroblasts. Some people kind of skimp on these, but I think they're really good in Cruise Mirrors, and I think there's going to be a decent amount of combo decks and miracles that pop up as a response to this deck, and I want the extra Pyro. I have 1 Electrickery, which is pretty good in the mirror match, pretty good against Elves, and I started with the second one, but ended up like not feeling like I needed it, especially since I have the Pyros to kill Delvers and whatnot. So 1 is good. You can certainly play a second one if you want. Have a couple Ancient Grudges where people usually have Smash to Smithereens, and the reason for that is kind of twofold. Like I said, a lot of Chalice of the Voids, a lot of Thopter Foundries. Ancient Grudge still really good against equipment, potentially better against Batterskull if the game has gone on long, but so like Smash would go well with the game 1 like burn plan, right? But post board, you're not really trying to be a burn deck against things like Stoneforge Mystic. Like you generally have to use your bolts to kill like their Death Rites or Stoneforges, what have you. So things like the Fire Blast come out, and then just having Ancient Grudge, having a thing that kills 2 things is very, very important because those are the cards that they lean on to try and beat you. So this is a recent adoption, including the Tropical Islands, so we'll see how that goes. And then I have 2 Prices, 2 Sulfuric Vortexes, and these are basically my answers against weirdo decks, you know, just like things that are trying to gain life. If you play against like Nick Fit or something, they have like Thragtusk or whatever. Vortex is good against them. It's like a threat that they're not really prepared to beat because they're trying to beat your creatures and your graveyard. So something like Vortex just comes down and they're like, oh crap, I don't have an answer for that. And Price of Progress is kind of the same way, where like it facilitates your game 1 burn plan. And since this deck doesn't play Wasteland and people basically know that it doesn't play Wasteland, they're free to fetch duels whenever they want, and they kind of carry that over. They carry over that mentality into games 2 and 3, and Price of Progress can really punish people for that. So focus on how blatant they are as far as like trying to fetch basics versus not. If they're being careful playing around Days, sideboard that out. If they're being careful playing around Price of Progress, side that out, you know, or like don't bring it in. So just be mindful of that stuff. And then we have 2 Cages, good against Elves, Reanimator, Dredge, things like that. I could certainly see a third one. A couple Null Rods. These used to be Pithing Needles, Stop Sensei's Divining Top, Gristlebrand Sneak Attack. But I've actually liked Null Rod again against these like weirdo Thopter Foundry decks and stuff like Storm. Storm is pretty tough, so Null Rod helps a lot there. And then I have a Blue Blast for the mirror and Show and Tell and anything with a bunch of Pyros. So that's it. Let's play some Magic.